This morning has been kind of 2 steps forward, 1 step back so far. I'm figuring stuff out, but I'm also figuring out that I am not as prepared for some of this as I thought I was. So let me walk you through what we've accomplished and what we still have to figure out. So as you can see, the stock air box and the stock post air box tube is there, but something that turns out I didn't understand well enough is this intake silencer, because here, I should probably just take it out so you guys can see. 1 second. Okay, so down inside this hole, apparently there's something else normally goes in there that holds the end of the ram air scoop thing in place and actually connects the stock air box to the ram. And that is the intake silencer, not this ram air scoop thing. So problem is I'm missing that piece, so currently I can't put that in. So I'm gonna leave the ram air scoop off for now because I do need to do the power steering fluid, which is right below there. You can't see it, but it's down there. But yeah, everything with the stock air box itself went okay. I do have a new MAF sensor in there now. So that part's okay. And then next I moved on to the turbo heat shield. Okay, now the problem with the heat shield is you can't actually mount it to this Cobb aftermarket downpipe. At first my plan was to take the heat shield and the extra heat shield bracket and mount them to the downpipe, drive around, shake the car down for a couple weeks, and then swap the downpipe out, because that's going to be a little bit of a bigger job and I didn't really get to it immediately. But it looks like that's not an option, so I'm going to be running with no heat shield, which I guess it hasn't had a heat shield for a long time anyway, so maybe that's not the end of the world. I was certainly wanting to get one back on there. I don't remember how I got this in there. But at any rate, that makes it easier to change the transmission fluid, which is something else I'm going to try to accomplish today. But yeah, so like I said, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Alright, so since today has taken a couple left turns here, I think my plan is to go out. I need, for the emblem, I need some, and for the side markers. So I need some 3M double-sided tape for putting the stock scoop onto the aftermarket hood. I need M5 by 0.8 nuts and washers to go with them, a heat gun for the 3M double-sided tape, some weather stripping to seal up the scoop, and then I need to do an oil change. Everybody seems to really like Rotella T6, so I'm gonna try for that. I also need to get some paint for the sway bar. Let me double check. I think I have some black paint. Yeah, I've got some paint that'll work. I might get a fun color though, we'll see. So that's what I'm gonna do. Day's not turning out 100% like I planned, but I'm still making progress, and the car is getting pretty close to being in drivable condition. So. Cleaning up the black emblem was something I decided to do, not because I thought I could make it look amazing, but just because I think it adds that nice extra little bit of polish, no pun intended, to the front of the car. So I don't know what models of WRX came with the black emblems on them, but I just used some Meguiar's 101, polished it up by hand with one of my cutting pads, and then when it was done, I put a little bit of synthetic wax on it and let it dry, and then polished it right up. To stick it to the grill, a lot of people use 3M double-sided tape, so I'm using the Harbor Freight version of it. We'll see how durable it is, but it's a pretty cheap badge to replace if something happens to it. These STI things on the side are in terrible condition. We'll talk more about them in a minute, but I was able to pretty easily match everything up to them. And then taking out the headlights, besides the lenses being cracked, I'm really glad I decided to do this, because it turns out that a lot of their mounting brackets were also cracked, and the lights probably weren't aligned correctly and probably didn't have more than a year or 2 of working in their current setup. So really glad I decided to replace them. Now these new ones aren't necessarily OEM quality, it's hard to tell, but they're about the same price as OEM, and I like how they look a lot better, and the reviews are positive enough, so I figure we'll use them. And if there's some problem with them in the future, maybe I'll upgrade to something nicer, but they seem like they're good enough quality to maybe match the OEM lights. The battery was a giant pain because it turns out this battery is slightly wider than it's supposed to be, so getting the little hooks to line up took a lot longer than it should, and I'm still not super thrilled with how sturdy the battery is, but considering it had no support before, this is probably a lot better. I just used some basic self-tapping screws to hold up the vent covers underneath the hood to fill them in. I'm not really sure how well that's going to hold either, but there aren't really any better choices. All right, this front end is looking pretty good, if I do say so myself. I still got to go in and clean up a few things, like got to go tuck that in. But we got the new black logo in. Got the new headlights, same black pieces there. Also got the new corner markers. Now, the corner markers were interesting. So on this side, it might be a little bit hard to tell, but you can still see the black paint that the car came with from the factory underneath a little bit. On this side, the STI thing that used to be there is just a sticker that was overlaid over that section, and the bulb was tucked inside the fender well. But we come around over here, on this side, it was painted red underneath, so somebody must have removed the STI logo before, and there was a bulb in it. So the fitment is not perfect, but it's not bad for now. It's a good place to start from, so that's where I'm leaving that for today. I'm just gonna see how it holds up, and then I'll make any future decisions. So also up here, you probably saw I cleaned this off, so I can start working on the hood scoop pretty shortly here. But right now, I just finished up doing some tests on the sway bar. So if you can see, it's still fairly pitted, and I don't really know why. I don't know if I can focus on something that's that close. I don't think I can. But you can see the blue underneath, and you can see how pitted up it is. And it looks like it's just corroded enough over a long enough period of time that that may be as good as I'm going to be able to get with it, which is okay. But if we move along, you can see here by comparison, that's how rusted up that section is. So I'm going to go through. I've just been using a wire wheel brush to clean it. Just using that, going down the whole thing, cleaning it up. I'm going to keep doing that, and then once that's done, I picked out like a nice red spray paint. I'm going to hit it. If I've got time today, I'm also going to paint the hood scoop to get that in a nice coat of black. So we'll see if we can get that done while we still got some daylight. Okay, so another pretty good day. You can see behind me, car's looking good. Got a couple coats of paint on the sway bar, started doing some sanding on the hood scoop, but that's going to take a lot more prep because I actually want that one to look good. The sway bar, I don't really care what it looks like. I just want to paint it so that it's not rusty anymore and to protect it a little bit in the future, but it's not going to look good. I don't even know if I'm keeping this sway bar long term, so I'm not really concerned about that. But yeah, overall, things went pretty well. Here, I'll spin you around, show you where we're ending up. So, hood and headlights looking pretty good. Sway bar's down there, just drying. This is ready for the scoop to go on. It's all cleaned up. The scoop I hit with 400 grit sandpaper because it didn't have any big imperfections, but I don't think that was enough, so I'm gonna hit it with something a little bit stronger and then we'll go back. And the workbench is filthy. So that's about where we're ending up. This cheap Harbor Freight heat gun worked out really well doing the side markers. I wasn't that impressed with it. Or I wasn't that impressed with the way the side markers were set up on the car, but the heat gun did really well. Let me think. I don't think there's anything else. It's disappointing about the intake silencer or the ram scoop thing going into the intake silencer, but what are you going to do? We'll figure that out. I can always drive on that for a little bit. Oh yeah, the heat shield on the turbo. Not being able to hook that up is going to be a little bit of a pain, but that's okay. I mean, I can drive with it as is for now. I know it's not great to drive it with a downpipe and no tune, but it's had a downpipe and no tune for 6 years and it's been okay. So as long as I don't beat it too hard, I'm sure I'll be okay. And I still haven't decided if I'm getting like an access port or something. It kind of depends on where the WRX ends up in the SCCA classing for this year. If it ends up in G Street, like it looks like it might, then I'll want it to be in G Street. But if it doesn't, then I'm going to go into Street Touring Hatch and I'm going to put a tune on it and do everything else. So that's where I'm at for now. I'm hoping the next episode or two we'll be able to do the first drive. Maybe not with the new tires. I've ordered them, but they're not going to be on the car by then. But I still need to, I can drive on the all seasons if I need to, and I just need to do all the fluids and we're pretty much good to go. That's not everything I want to do with the car, but then it'll be good enough that I can put the interior back in and start driving it around and testing it out. So see you on the next one.